Hey story lovers. If you're into mystery, suspense, and unexpected twists, you're in the right place. Hit subscribe, relax, and let's dive into today's story. The gala was held under a sky littered with stars, the Mediterranean air brushing gently against Barcelona's elite. The Hotel de El Alma glittered with luxury, crystal chandeliers, orchestral melodies, and clinking champagne glasses. To most, it was just another night of elegance. But to Elena Moretti, it was the beginning of a well-planned end. Elena stood by the grand staircase, wrapped in a deep emerald gown that contrasted her pale skin and raven-black hair. Her appearance was intentional, elegant enough to blend in, alluring enough to stand out. But beneath the silk and diamonds lived a fire fueled by years of silence and betrayal. She scanned the crowd. He would be here. He always was. Adrian Cortez Valdez, billionaire, philanthropist, media darling. On the surface, a self-made visionary. But behind that polished smile lived a predator, one who had destroyed her father, Leonardo Moretti, and left her sister, Clara, broken and pregnant. Adrian had never even looked back. Tonight, Elena wouldn't be invisible anymore. And there he was. Standing near the grand piano, dressed in a sleek black tuxedo, Adrian spoke with dignitaries and investors, his laughter low and intoxicating. His presence drew people in like gravity. She could feel it even from across the room. Elena moved with calculated grace, approaching just as a group dispersed. She caught his eye with a poised smile, pretending not to know who he was. "First gala?" Adrian asked, offering a charming smile. "No, just my first in Barcelona." "Ah, a foreign mystery." He extended his hand. "Adrian." "Elena." She shook it, suppressing the chill of rage beneath her skin. The conversation flowed like honey. Adrian was as captivating as the tabloid said. Witty. Brilliant. He spoke 5 languages, quoted Neruda, and had that rare ability to make a woman feel like the only person in the room. But Elena wasn't here to be seduced. She was here to ruin him. They shared champagne. They danced once. When he offered his number, she gave him a card with only her first name. "Find me if you're interested." She turned, her gown sweeping the floor, not once looking back. But she knew he was watching. Adrian did find her, 3 days later. A bouquet of orchids arrived at her studio apartment along with a handwritten invitation to a private dinner. His penthouse was a maze of glass and gold, overlooking the city like a throne. Elena played her role flawlessly, curious, intelligent, slightly detached. She let him believe she was a freelance editor from Florence, new to Barcelona, trying to find her way. Half-truths were easier to sell than lies. Adrian was intrigued. She was unlike the women he dated, unimpressed by his wealth, unfazed by his charm. Their dinners became regular. Walks along the beach. Conversations at 2 a.m. Elena kept him hooked, slowly gaining access to his inner world, his likes, routines, passwords, even his childhood secrets. She learned that Adrian's father had been even colder than him. That Adrian had built his empire out of spite and brilliance. That his greatest fear wasn't failure, it was being forgotten. She used it all. But the hardest part wasn't the manipulation. It was the moments she forgot she was pretending. The way he made her laugh when she wasn't trying to. The softness in his voice when he read her poetry. The night he kissed her under the rain, his hands trembling slightly, as if he hadn't done this 1,000 times before. Still, she reminded herself, this man had shattered her family. He ruined her father with a fake investment deal and left her sister alone and pregnant. Clara now worked 2 jobs to raise a child Adrian never even knew existed. Elena was doing this for them. But every time he looked at her like she was a secret he wanted to keep forever, something inside her cracked. Months passed. What started as a calculated mission began to twist. Adrian wasn't just falling, he was transforming. He spoke less like a businessman and more like a man in love. He took her to his childhood home in Seville. Introduced her to his mother. Built a library in his apartment because she once said she missed the smell of old books. He opened himself completely. And Elena? She wasn't immune. It terrified her how deeply she started to feel. How her walls trembled every time he said, "I see you, Elena." Not the mask. You. He didn't know how close he was to the truth. One night, while lying on his chest, Elena found herself staring at the moonlit ceiling and whispering, "What if the person you love isn't who you think they are?" Adrian turned to her, gently brushing her hair from her face. "Then I'd ask them to show me everything. Even the darkness." She almost cried. Because her darkness was shaped like him. And she couldn't run forever. It happened on a Sunday. Adrian was away on a business trip. Elena was cleaning his study when she dropped her notebook. As she bent to pick it up, another notebook, a leather-bound one with a lock, tumbled out of his drawer. Curious, she opened it. It was her own. Not her actual journal, but a copy Adrian had been writing about her. His thoughts, his feelings, every moment they shared. He had fallen deeply, obsessively, irreversibly. Tears burned her eyes. She loved him. God, she didn't want to, but she did. And then he returned. Found her sitting in the study, the notebook open. You weren't supposed to see that, he said, voice tight. Neither were you. She stood, pulling a small black book from her bag. Her real journal. She handed it to him. Read it. Adrian flipped through, each page revealing the truth, her identity, her purpose, the lies. His face paled. You're Clara's sister. She nodded, trembling. And Leonardo Moretti's daughter. Silence. Then a whisper. You were the girl I fell for, and the trap I never saw coming. Tears fell freely now. I wanted you to hurt. But I didn't expect to care. Adrian dropped the journal. Leave. She did. But her heart stayed. The days that followed were hell. Adrian shut himself off. From the world. From his company. From everyone. His mother called Elena, crying. Adrian wasn't eating. Wasn't sleeping. She had never seen him like this. Elena tried to stay away. She buried herself in work, in Clara, in the child she now saw as her own blood. But nothing dulled the ache. One night, Clara found her crying and whispered, I hated him too, Lena. But you didn't do this for me anymore. You stayed for you. Elena knew she was right. This wasn't about revenge now. It was about love. The kind that scarred. She returned one last time. Adrian was standing in his study, staring out the window, thinner than she remembered. You came to finish it? He asked. No. To say goodbye. He turned slowly. Do you love me? Elena nodded, voice shaking. But that doesn't make what you did okay. He stepped forward, broken. Clara deserved better. Your father didn't deserve betrayal. I thought I was untouchable. You made me human. She touched his face. I loved a version of you that could change. But I can't stay, Adrian. You left scars in my family I can't erase. He closed his eyes, pain evident. Will I ever see you again? She shook her head. My sister cried every night, thinking about you. Now it's your turn. Cry for me. And she left. Years later. Elena wrote a novel, a story of revenge, love, and redemption. It won awards. It broke hearts. Adrian read it every year. And cried every time.